It's February and spring is just around the corner. Now, like me, you're all probably very excited and eager to get started and to get your hands dirty at the allotment and in the garden. But what I will say is try not to sow your seeds too early. There's absolutely nothing worse than sowing your seeds, producing beautiful, healthy seedlings to only plant them out and for a frost to completely wipe them out. There is nothing worse than that, because obviously you will have to start all over again, and that will put a big setback into your growing year. So try to resist the temptation to sow your seeds too early. Even though it's been a very mild winter, the last frost date in the UK is usually about May, so there's still plenty of time for the weather to dip and for there to be any frosts. So just try and hold back on the seed sowing. Do some research on the seeds that you want to grow. Read the backs of the seed packets, and even they can't be very accurate. It all depends on the weather, so just keep checking the weather. Obviously, if you're further north, then you may be a couple of weeks behind. So check on the weather, do some research, and try and resist the temptation to sow those seeds too early. There are, however, plenty of other jobs that need to be doing in February. If you haven't done so already, then start planning your allotment or garden. Now, I tend to use graph paper just to get exact measurements, but you can plan it on a computer or simply use pen and paper. Start buying and sorting through your seed packets, but remember to keep a lookout for bargains in the shops. Spread well-rotted manure onto your vegetable beds and around fruit bushes and perennial flowers such as roses. This will help to release good nutrients into the soil and improve the structure. Start thinking about netting your fruit crops against unwanted birds in the summer months. Prune soft fruit bushes, fruit trees and perennial flowers such as roses whilst they are dormant. And now is the perfect time to prune autumn fruiting raspberries by cutting the canes that bore fruit last year to ground level. Divide herbaceous perennials and rhubarb crowns to avoid overcrowding and to keep plants healthy. Start thinking about the wildlife that will be visiting your garden by putting up bee hotels and bird boxes. And remember to regularly clean your ponds by removing leaves and any debris that might contaminate the water. Warm the soil by using cloches to get a head start with sowing seeds and to get better germination. Now, if you're lucky enough to own a greenhouse, then you can start sowing these seeds indoors. Aubergine, basil, early brassicas, celery, cucumber, tomatoes, onions and sweet peppers. And you can also sow some peas in some guttering so they're ready to plant out when the weather warms up. Outside under cloches you can sow beetroot, carrots, radishes, lettuce, spinach, spring onions, parsnip and broad beans. You can also start sowing sweet peas indoors, and you can plant dahlias and lilies into pots. Now is the time to plant out raspberry canes, blackberries, currants, gooseberries, fruit trees, rhubarb and strawberries, as long as the ground isn't frozen or waterlogged. You can also force establish rhubarb by placing a bucket over the crowns. However, remember that this can only be done every other year. Start chitting your seed potatoes so that they are ready for planting out in 6 to 7 weeks' time. Simply place them in a tray or an old egg box with plenty of natural light, and they'll be ready for planting out when the shoots are about 1 inch long.